is all that's left of the Auto Club's budget for the month.
Stop.
Anyone tell me why?
What's going on here?
You get busted for
What's
stealing the
weird
window
fucking
frame from the
mask
assistant
inside
dean's
his head?
office when
What's
you needed more
the
parts?
bellman doing there? Right there in the middle, it's Ryuk in human form.
Yeah, who are these guys?
To the Auto Club.
The Auto Club. So they're assassins. Like, this is just a front.
Whenever I sang my songs on the stage on my own, whenever I said my words, wishing they would be heard, I saw you smiling at me. Was it real or just my fantasy? You'd always be there in the corner of this tiny little bar.
Hi, and welcome to Cover by Cover. I am Manster McMankind.
And I'm Hambone. Who's got the Hambone?
This week, I decided to pick out the show, and not to toot my own horn or anything, but I think it's a pretty good choice.
Well, I guess we'll see. We've run down two bona fide classics so far, and this week, well, we picked an anime from a genre, whatever it's called, where you have a guy and a girl forced together in a contrived situation for great love or whatever. I'm gonna be real upfront here. I just don't like it. In an anime like Clannad, Nagisa and Tomoya come together naturally. Amongst a group of friends and even other girls, they're mutually attracted to each other, and after being friends for a good long time, their relationship blossoms. This is how real lasting relationships begin in real life. However, in these arranged situation shows, it's a ludicrously contrived scenario where some neat douche who hasn't seen boobies in a decade, or more realistically, ever, gets forced into a situation with an outrageously hot woman who has to be with him because insert reason here. Now, a show like Aori Ayoshi actually did a decent job with its setup. You had a woman who was friends with the main character for years, even as a child, and she decided that she was going to be with him no matter what. And no matter what came their way, she pursued her love, and that's why the setup worked. Now, that show went on to completely botch its premise by turning the guy into a slave and postponing that actual love thing indefinitely while surrounding him with a cast of fan service. But that's neither here nor there. My biggest problem with these shows is that even though anime is infinitely fantastical and suspension of disbelief is essential, this is beyond silly. I can't begin to sympathize with the scenario of a girl just being dropped into a guy's lap because, let me tell you, no matter what situation I've been in my life, bad or good, this never happened to me. In fact, I'm almost 100% sure that's never happened to anyone. Not even in Japan.
Yeah, but isn't that the point?
It's a fantasy. Of course this never happens in real life, but wouldn't it be awesome if it did? What guy wouldn't love a woman to come running to him and say, I want to get to know you, be your best friend, and then spend the rest of my life with you having crazy sex? Sure, it's not exactly in line with real life, but neither is Star Wars or The Lord of the Rings.
Did you just compare this anime to Star Wars and Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
Do you actually think
This episode, Oh My Goddess.
Ah My Goddess, or Oh My Goddess, as readers of the manga would call it, premiered in January of 2005 in Japan and ended on July 7th. In a now impossible turnaround time of 2 months, the first English-language box set was released here in September of the same year and wrapped its release with its 6th volume in July of 2006, making its complete release exactly 1 year after the original run ended. This feat, this shockingly efficient process, would make even Funimation blush.
There was a sequel series as well due to the show's success, but unfortunately, because the original series license ran out a few years ago, it's now completely out of print and box sets run well upwards of $100. Yeah, not exactly a great buying point.
So can this series possibly be worth that much effing green?
Well, I'm gonna do my best to review this fairly so that I can tell you honestly whether I think it's good or not.
And I'm just gonna slather my love all over it. So good.
Anyway, this is Ah My Goddess.
You're welcome for that.
Infinite space. It brims with so many different life forms. And in this space can also be found the source of all life.
These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise.
Fate. Are all living things then bound by this thing we call fate?
And if so, is this something that is completely immutable? Furthermore, what if one's fate were suddenly wrested away from them to be controlled by an unknown being with no regard to their free will?
This has been a terrible worldview and why you shouldn't believe in it. With your host, Joan Rivers.
Rise and shine, Morisano! Come on, wake up!
So, minus the philosophical rambling, the show gets started with our main character, Keiichi Morisato. He lives in a dorm with his fellow members of the Auto Club, who spend their time performing Auto Club activities such as working out and doing nothing. Also, in an immense feat of gay pride, they have banned all women from their apartment building.
Let's see here. A contrived situation that prevents the main character from being in a relationship, which also renders him woefully awkward around women. Check.
Anyhow, yeah, you remember that whole fate thing?
And for all you Capricorn out there, today is not your day, no matter what you do. In particular, you should keep an eye on your personal finances. And for
Huh. Hey, what's my horoscope say?
I don't know. Oh, here we go. It just says you're going to fucking die.
Well, ain't that some bullshit?
Of course, because rested fate and all that, this turns out to be completely true as Keiichi wakes up late for class, can't get his motorcycle to start, gets abducted by the cast of Cromartie High.
If we don't do something, there'll be no club activities!
Anyway, suddenly Minibike B as Keiichi chase unpaying customer for a great budget. He gets accosted by all the women he ran into or over during his cycle rampage, gets his lunch money stolen, calls it a day, and ostensibly fails the German class that he never attended.
For him, this is a daily occurrence.
In fact, it is the way his day always unfolds.
So let me guess. This is the terrible fate that is going to be wrested from him by this goddess.
Yeah.
Good. Good to know I can see the payoff coming from a mile away. Also, I think she mentioned free will or something in there, like once. What evidence is there that free will actually exists here?
Keiichi is told first thing in the morning by a horoscope no less, that today is not going to be his day no matter what he does. He then has the most absurdly awful day after that same voiceover tells us that every day for him is equally terrible. Well, what the hell? This guy doesn't have any say in what happens to him. Ever! This is a ridiculous caricature of fate. These people are reduced to hapless automatons caught in the grips of a forced path that they can't possibly escape.
Dude, can't you just wait until the sexy goddess arrives, please? This show isn't that bad. You're just overthinking it.
Keiichi is very clearly a hapless, clumsy oaf. Sure, he's forced into a perpetual spiral of awful, unfortunate events, but who hasn't had those days? Who hasn't had a week or even a month where everything seems to go wrong inexplicably? You want to talk about real life? This is actually surprisingly plausible.
Well, okay, but you didn't even rebut a single thing that I said. You just described the same events from a different angle.
Yeah, because I'm more patient than you.
So to top off Keiichi's raw sewage sundae with a crusty dried dog turd, the Auto Club harangues him into apartment sitting while they head out to have drunken escapades.
The crew of Heinously Awful don't come back the next day, but instead leave Keiichi with an absurdly long list of tasks and chores. Which he just does. Man, I was starting to like this guy too. How about some initiative? Self-respect? Stop being such a doormat!
After a shockingly productive, rather bad luckless day, Keiichi heads out to take some movies back to the rental store with plenty of time left to do his simplest task of the day. Answer a phone call at 7 p.m.
However, because Keiichi is worthless... because Keiichi is a genuinely good-hearted person, he helps a lost little girl find her wallet so that she can buy the groceries her family needs. Shockingly, he makes it back in time to answer the phone call, and 1 hour later makes one of his own.
To Greek Tron? Since when do omnipotent beings live inside video games?
Since Arceus in Pokemon Diamond, who was the creator of all the world and all Pokemon, who you could catch and force to do your bidding. Google it.
Because Keiichi just won the luck lottery, a goddess from another dimension answers the phone.
Wow. Don't you love when that happens? Anyway, Belle Dandy, the goddess of no noses, arrives to grant Keiichi a wish of his choosing and the episode ends.
Well, it's not really bad or anything. None of these characters are unlikable. I mean, these auto guys are funny. Keiichi's not, I don't know, he's not some cliche doofus who's just doing pratfalls or any of that crap. I just really don't like this half-baked attempt at philosophy. Not at all.
Well, that sounds like a personal problem. And you should probably unfuck yourself.
Here, this is my card.
What kind of business would a goddess like you have with me?
Prostitution. Seriously, kid, did you actually believe she was a goddess? Just how lucky are you expecting to get tonight?
No. 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 Well, Keiichi blushes because, holy shit, a girl is talking to him. Belle Dandy explains why she's really there.
You have been virtuous in spite of the fact that the imbalance of fortune and misfortune in your daily life has been exceeded. And so, as a result, Yggdrasil responded accordingly. Thus, it has been determined that you have earned the right to receive heaven's grace.
Nope. Stop.
You know, I like this better when it was called Cinderella.
This is a positively terrible message to preach. Don't ever stand up for yourself. Don't ever actually do anything to improve your life. Just be a nice, warm doormat, and eventually the universe will make you into a real boy. The only way this would make sense is under that Christian doctrine of turn the other cheek. But even Christianity demands the ardent, passionate defense of the faith. So there's always something worth standing up for. You can't just live your life without doing anything to better yourself and wait for a miracle to drop into your lap. Not even real life God tells you to do this. In any religion.
And don't even try to claim escapism again. I'll admit, the show is cute and funny and fun and whatever else, but its morals and philosophy are just, they're out of whack. They don't even exist practically. I mean, everybody who watches this show, everyone, had better just be watching it as cotton candy fluff and not actually expecting anything to satiate them.
Well, now that hate train's left the station, Things don't go exactly as Beldandy intended when Keiichi makes the wish of a lifetime.
Okay. I think I'm ready to tell you my wish now.
Does that mean you have made your decision?
I'd like for a goddess
Go on.
like you
All right.
to stay by my side forever. Oh, gosh, I'm sorry, that was rude. Even if you are a goddess, I shouldn't have said that. After all, I just met you.
Well, looks like you shouldn't have made that wish on an Indian burial ground.
I wasn't serious. I just said the first thing that came to mind.
Naturally, Beldandy tries to beg off the most awful thing that has ever happened to her ever, simultaneously wishing she hadn't showered Keiichi with all that praise.
I beg your pardon, but I need to borrow your phone.
Oh, look, kittens for sale.
Naturally, her appeal goes unheard, and so she's suddenly surprisingly happy about being able to stay with Keiichi forever. However, he also does a bipolar 180.
But don't you get it? That means you're gonna have to live here in the dorm with me. And on the days I have class, I'm gonna be on campus. I have no money. We're gonna be poor. Do you understand? You know I'm gonna have to get a part-time job?
Yes.
Well, you should have thought your wish through first, now shouldn't you? Maybe next time you won't listen to that incy-wincy penis.
But there is one more very unfortunate rule that Keiichi has to deal with because of his bottomless lack of forethought.
No. If the rest of the guys find you up here, there's gonna be even more trouble.
You do not understand. Once a wish is granted, the system force goes into effect. And there is nothing you can do to go against it.
The system force?
Yes, it is very powerful. Even I am unable to stop it. If you insist on defying it, I am afraid it will only bring you grief, Mr. Keiichi Morisato.
Oof, now you've done it. Guess what that means.
The members of the Auto Club, who are shockingly heterophobic, throw Keiichi out on his ass for bringing a woman into their man mountain. The two search high and low, but the system force basically says fuck chivalry by preventing Keiichi from getting Beldandy a place to spend the night without him. Eventually, they break into his college and spend the night in a utility vehicle. Very romantic.
I hope every one of our days will be wonderful, Mr. Keiichi.
Well, you know, you've had a rough day. I think I'm just gonna stay up all night and make sure you're safe, okay? All right, sleep well.
Dude, how is it humanly possible to be this awkward? Giving her your jacket made you that embarrassed?
He had to turn away to conceal the boner. Just kidding, he doesn't have to conceal it.
Wow. That's really racist.
Well, he's Asian. Hey, the episode's ending and it's adorable.
Mr. Keiichi, tell me about your family.
Well, my parents and sister live in Hokkaido.
Hokkaido? Where's that?
Do you mind if I go first? By all means.
Ah My Goddess is genuinely wonderful. It's funny, the characters are instantly likable, and even if some of the situations and events of the plot are overly silly, they're still fun. They're all tried and true tropes of anime that this show can't be blamed for on its own. The introduction of Beldandy introduces an interesting chance for Keiichi to grow as a character, since this isn't just some girl that he chooses not to have sex with even though she clearly wants the D. She's a goddess. He can't hit that or he'll be snuffed out of existence. Instead, it's an opportunity to explore his character and introduces a new situation for him, forced to live with and care for this goddess that he unwillingly pulled into every aspect of his life. I would totally recommend this show.
Well, if I have to play the cynic...
I will admit that this show, on the surface, is lighthearted fun at its best. I also admit that the characters are fun and interesting. All those things are genuine pros that go into this show's win column. At least so far. What I object to is the transparently lifted Disney morality and the cookie-cutter fate philosophy that waxes as something that you'd, well, find in a fortune cookie. The idea of fate isn't well represented either. It seems like an endurance test. I don't know if the show is glorifying this, but it's definitely not criticizing it. It just seems to posit it as, what if this is the way it worked? Well, what if I don't give a damn because none of the characters are actually in control of a single aspect of their lives? Thinking about it on this deeper level almost ruins the show for me because it's just so shallow. All that aside, if you just want something on the fruits basket plane of lighthearted fun, then this show is probably for you. However, personally, I'd stop here.
Why aren't you just a contrary Christine? Oh, if I have to play the cynic... Yeah, sure you do. You have to play the cynic. You've been shitting all over this episode from the beginning. You can't accept that this is just a happy, heartwarming anime with some, underlying...
Well, that's it for this
tones.
week. I'm Will Ryan.
And I'm JT Camp, reminding you, don't call God. He doesn't care.
Darling, so there you are. With